Welcome back to my channel, guys. This is Diana, your host with Moving Forward Talk. This is a space where we share stories of struggle, growth, and healing with hope of encouraging those who may be walking similar season in life. Joining me this week is Mr. Lincoln Esmie Jr. He is a mental health therapist and an empathetic tattoo artist. He believes art is more than an expression. It's a path to healing. He is dedicated to uplift others, honoring their stories, and creating meaningful work with purpose. Mr. Esmie, it's such a pleasure to have you. Welcome, and thank you for making yourself available for this interview. How are you?
Honestly, I'm happy to be here. It's definitely a good chance to shed light on not only my industries, but being able to kind of show on like a deeper level, like myself outside of media as well.
Yeah, great. And he'll be discussing how his work promotes healing. Mr. Esmie, you're standing or you live at the intersection of mental health and body art, which is not a common path. I'd love to start by asking you, how did these two worlds come together for you?
I like to think back to predominantly COVID. I was already in school getting a bachelor's degree in psychology. So I spent a lot of time, obviously learning the brain, learning about trauma, learning about all these different things. And while I had that time during COVID, finishing up my studies at USF, I actually ended up getting back into painting. And, it's a time where you're like sitting there spending so much time to yourself, by yourself, obviously, because you can't do anything because of COVID, that it made me realize just how much like expression helps, even in something as simple as far as like art, being able to like release whatever feelings or emotions you have going on. So art in that moment kind of was like my release
Yeah.
during COVID. So fast forward, and around that same time, I started getting a lot of tattoos the year like after, right?
Mhm.
So I now finished my bachelor's degree. I'm making a little bit of money from working a full-time job now, and I get real close with this one tattoo artist that I met out here in Tampa. And, as me and her were talking, she, kind of resonated with me. She's of Jamaican descent as well, graduated with a sociology degree. And I remember one day we're sitting at the shop, like, and she's looking at this design that I like drew up the night before because I was like, yeah, I want to get this done. And she's like, Lincoln, you're so creative. Like, have you ever considered tattooing? And I was like, no. I definitely didn't because my parents would kill me. There's no way. I would never try that. And but she then said to me, "Remember you came in one day and you were like you couldn't think of a better way to like express yourself outside of like being able to paint and draw, but also have like this physical expression that you can have with tattoos." And I swear she said that to me that day, and it like sat in my mind for like forever. And then fast forward a little bit more, I'm working now probably on like my second job in like the same company, but like a different department. And I'm in a work meeting, and my supervisor at the time was really big on doing more than just what you do for work. Cause I'm doing mental health. Mental health is that unseen, unspoken
Yeah.
work in the health field, right? So at this specific time, I'm dealing with crisis management specifically. So any form of like immediate crisis, I'm there, right? So we're in the work meeting. My supervisor's talking about what new goals do you guys want to have going into 2022? What's something you want to try? What are you feeling, the need to want to do? And I was already sitting on my heart like for like a while since that last session with my tattoo artist thinking about tattooing, but like something in the back of my mind was like, mention it in the meeting, like just talk about it. So in the meeting, I said, I'm thinking about tattooing. And all my coworkers paused and were like super supportive because they're like, you're always drawing in the office in between seeing clients. And it seems like that's something that you really care about as far as like art. So, like, you should follow up the next day. I had a coworker come and she brought me an old coil tattoo machine that her husband never used and was like, I'm going to give this to you now so that way you can pursue that dream because I can see that you go far with it. And then the rest is history. Now we start learning how to tattoo while also simultaneously trying to get a master's degree in counseling. And the two just so happen to just keep flowing interjectively since 2021. So yeah, that's
Awesome.
how they got there.
Yes, awesome. Following your dream. Now, you mentioned that my mother would kill me, my parents would kill me.
Yeah.
How, what was that like, actually expressing your desire to be a tattoo artist coming from your background?
It was pretty powerful, like at the time I started out with one. And when I started out with the one, it was like the end of the world when I got the one, especially after how she found out. But I told her specifically, I would never put anything on my body that didn't have meaning to me specifically.
Right.
I don't know. Everybody gets tattoos for different reasons, but like for me specifically, I was like every bit of what I've done tells a piece of like my story.
Mhm.
Um, so as they would continue to go, I went from like my chest getting done to like both arms getting done. And I
Mhm.
remember the conversation vividly because at the time, I'm like in my apartment and I remember like I'm like staring at the coil machine and I literally was like, okay, like I'm gonna bring it up to like people that I know first. So I tell my friends first. And I'm like, yeah, guys, I'm thinking about being a tattoo artist. So they're like, oh yeah, we love that idea. Like you paint, you draw, you do whatever. After talking with them, I remember calling my mom. So I call my mom and I tell her, I said, Mom, I'm thinking about being a tattoo artist. What? Why? Like you already went to school and did all this stuff. And I was like, I'm not saying I'm going to give up on school and stuff. Like I'm going to pursue that, but
Mhm.
I want to pursue this too. I just believed like at that point, like I could not see myself separated from art and painting and drawing only did just so much for me. I kind of felt like, so it was a lot of push. It
Mhm.
definitely was a lot of push. I can remember a lot of no's.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to myself through the nose that if I pray on it
Mhm.
and I take this leap, everyone's gonna love it for what it is.
Right.
And I remember I did like my first tattoo on myself. When I did that, I had got a little bit of recognition out and about from people, and they were like, "Oh, you did that? Oh, I'll book with you." And it started like that. And then I remember I had posted one really big piece that I did, and my mom called me and she was like, "You did that?" And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." Like it took like this long, like they wanted it to do this. And she was like, "I did not know you were doing stuff like that." And I was like, "Yeah, like that's what I mean when I say like if I'm going to pour into something, I'm gonna do it." So ever since then, it's been Raps. Biggest support system has been them since then. And I think it was just in general, just getting a chance to show because you always say it. I feel like with everyone, they're like, "Oh, I want to do this or I want to do this," but sometimes you got to show people just how much like something means to you and how powerful some of your work can be. So when she saw that, it was over with.
And I must say, seem to be very powerful. I've seen some of your showings, and I'm just sitting there, just amazed, saying, "Is this links? Is this links?" Yes. Um, what misconceptions exist about tattoos, especially when combined with mental health awareness?
I think one of the biggest ones, of course, within the industry of tattoos
Mhm,
specifically, is like people look at tattoos and usually connotate like real dark, energy, real dark energy. Like I always hear, even prior, the way how they would associate tattoos with like gothic or like emo people. Um, and when I would hear those things, I'm like, I never felt that way about tattoos though. Like every shop that I particularly put myself into or went to, I always got a vibe of community, always got a vibe of, artsy people just trying to have a way to express themselves and freedom more than anything else. So I, when I look back at it, I look at that and connecting that to the mental health side of
mhm,
things where you have expression to give yourself freedom from whatever it is that's binding you to your situation. And I expanded on that. Right. So now we're taking something you're feeling up here, feeling in your body, generating some sort of image. All right. Now let's make that image a permanent piece of like a reminder of where you were and how you can now overcome and achieve. So I feel like that's really like a common misconception is that sometimes tattoos can be um some people feel like they could be meaningful, but they don't describe it as like meaningful in a sense of it being connected with trauma or it being connected with someone's story. It's usually like people try to put like a baseless sense to certain things, especially those who have no tattoos,
mhm,
which is a very big thing. Like those who don't have tattoos would feel there's nothing that they feel could have that much meaning that they'd want to permanently ink themselves.
mhm.
But for a person that is interested in tattoos or does want to consider body art, like I feel there's no greater art form. There is no greater art form. You could do murals, you could do paintings, you could do sketch designs, portraits, whatever. But once you take like this piece of art and etch it into skin, there's nothing like as permanent or as like lifelong because it's living art. It's on a person. So yeah.
Great. Thank you for that educational piece, even for myself. Yes. Um, Back to the mental health field. There are times when some individuals would say tattoos are being used to replace the emotional pain.
Mm.
Can you speak on that?
Yeah. I would say I could totally see from the outside looking in having that perspective because people would assume like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go and get this tattoo, feel some pain, and then like all my problems will go away. And contrary to unpopular belief, I feel like when you end up with a tattoo artist, right, and you're sitting there getting something done, whether it's 10 minutes, 2 hours, a couple days, you end up talking to that person. And while you're sitting there and going through the process of getting this tattoo done, you might have shared more than you've ever shared with anyone else in your life in those
Right.
20 minutes to 2 days. And that was something that I had noticed being a adamant tattoo getter, right? So I'd go and get my tattoos. Me and my tattoo artist would resonate. And it it made me realize just how much of a bond can be formed, and in a way it's almost like having a counselor, right? Because now you have this individual that's spending time with you, working with you and helping you kind of rationalize why this
Mhm.
piece is so important. And I would even say it's synonymous with those who do nails, the hairstylists. Like you spend all this time and they're getting this service done, and yeah, you're paying money, and yeah, it may be for some sort of beautification, but aside from the beautification piece, your mindset going in was I wanted to feel different. I wanted to experience something different once I'm finished with this process. That's mental health in a nutshell.
Right.
When you sign up and
Mhm,
you take that intake, you come
mhm,
in with the expectation of, hey, I have these sets of issues, or hey, I have this trauma. How can you help me resolve it or work through
Right.
it. And I think that when you look at how those two things coincide, you end up realizing just how powerful mental health plays into these other things.
And I can only imagine how much of an outlet you are for some of your clients.
Plenty, plenty. I would say that I'm really glad at the position and space that I'm in.
Mhm.
You know, I'm 26 years old, so I kind of feel like I'm that right in between younger folk
Yeah,
and people that are coming of age. And I say coming of age lightly because no one's old. I don't think anyone's old until they're geriatric, but I believe that in either of the experiences, nothing fills my heart more than knowing like we're sitting there and we're reasoning. You know, I'm 26, they could be whatever age, and we're having serious like reasonings that help them feel better or help them be a better person. Seeing that 18-year-old male come in that knew nothing about like where to go or what he wanted to do in life, and me of course sharing the same skin complexion as him, now giving him an idea like, yo, like I can go to school and be this, I can do trade school, I can do this, I'm getting a tattoo by a guy who has 2 degrees right above me, and he's tattooing me. That doesn't sound natural.
right.
Or you take it a step further, and now I work with um the 50-year-old mom or the 50-year-old dad, and we're sitting there and we're reasoning, and I'm 20 something. So they either got a kid that's slightly younger than me, the same age as me, or a little bit older, and they're rationalizing from our conversation, maybe I should be a little bit more fluid with my child. Like maybe I need to listen more. Maybe I should be more on that receiving end of conversation rather than always telling. And those are the type of conversations that I believe help not only foster a more communicative aspect within tattooing, but I'm helping people, and
You're
that's what
helping.
matters most.
Yeah. You're helping and you're meeting them right where they are in that moment. Yeah. Now, what does empathy looks like for you on a day-to-day basis?
I think empathy looks like patience. It's a lot of patience. I truly believe that, on the opposite side, to kind of shed light on what it's like to be a therapist, right? You take in other people's problems. So the question is always, who takes in your problems, right? And I always say every therapist needs a therapist, but more than just needing a therapist, self-care is important. So I try to be empathetic with myself on a day to day. I have a dog.
Mhm.
I take my dog on walks. I make sure to go to the gym. When I'm in the gym, I feel like the gym is the gym. Everybody comes in there to like do their workouts. But even like little small gestures, like
Mhm.
I'll see someone in there, um, maybe like putting their weights away. I'll go and help them put their weight up. Like that's empathy to me. I open up doors for people I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a good morning, how's your day going type of person, even in spaces where, people maybe don't want that kind of
Right.
conversation, but I'll do it
Mhm.
because I feel that that word empathy is deeper than just like emotion.
Right.
It's what we experience, right? Like it's how we maneuver, it's how we interact with one another on a day-to-day basis. So for me, I would definitely say moving with kindness, being soft to self and being soft to others.
Right.
That's what empathy is.
And I love that you said being soft to self and being soft to others. That is telling me that you are taking care of self first, so you have enough to pour into others. It is often said that mental health professional therapists find healing through the work they do for others or do with others. From your perspective, what has that looked like in your journey, both as a therapist and a tattoo artist?
I'd say safe to say that is very true.
Mhm.
Um, I predominantly as a therapist right now, work you wanted to work with that population because they're our future, right? I was once a youth, and as a youth, I used to always think to myself, like, I wish I had somebody to talk to
Mhm,
about how I feel, but there was no one to really talk to. And that's not to discredit parents, that's not to discredit like anyone that may have tried, but in my mind, I didn't see it, right? And it wasn't until I went through the process of going to school and having these different experiences and becoming a therapist that I said to myself, like, I want to be that for the next young man or the next young lady that's sitting there and is like, oh, Miss Johnson isn't going to get it, or Mr. Bob isn't going to get it. My coach isn't going to get it. I want to be that resource that gets it. So I think on the mental health aspect, it's a blessing every day. I work at two schools. I work at a traditional school, and then I work in at an exceptional center, which is usually where a lot of kids end up from alternative behaviors after they get kicked out of a traditional school. So these will be kids that are on their last leg. You know what I mean? Like
mhm,
right before ending up in like a detention center or something of the sorts.
mhm,
And when I work with them specifically, I get that feeling of of purpose. You know what I mean? Like they'll come in, everyone wants to be hard bodied at first. Oh, I don't believe in counseling. I don't believe in therapy. And then they meet me. We have one session and then another. And then I I told you I work at two schools, so I have a split schedule. Monday and Tuesday I'm at one school, Wednesday through Friday I'm at the other.
mhm,
Them days when I'm not there at that center, where's Mr. Lincoln? Blah 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 blah. Like, and it's the camaraderie of knowing that these men, young ladies don't even believe in therapy, but it wasn't until someone came in to show them therapy is deeper than what you think it is, to have them be like, yo, I'm cool with talking to someone. Or when I feel like I'm going through something, I can be vulnerable. So I would say there's my purpose with mental health there. With tattooing, I think it's the art of entrepreneurship, right? So I think I get a lot of fulfillment in my conversation with others and invigorating others to just pursue their passions. I didn't think I'd be doing this. If you were to ask me way back when, would I have become a tattoo artist? I can't say yes because I didn't know that I'd become a tattoo artist. But if it hadn't been for passion
mhm,
and a little bit of guidance, and and when I say little bit, like a little bit of like literally somebody just asking me, well, what if you did it?
uh-huh.
Who would have known? What if I never took that step? What if I never said anything in that meeting? It would have never happened. So anytime I'm around people, whether I'm in a tattoo chair, at a networking event, whatever, the main thing I'm always asking individuals is, well, what do you love? How much do you love it?
Mhm,
And could you see yourself monetizing it? And if you can answer any of those questions,
mhm.
you probably should do it because nothing's stopping you. The only thing stopping you is you.
Only thing ever stops us is us, right? And just to go back to what you said about some of your students, when we hear mental health, the stigma has been so big. We hear mental health, and all we can hear is that, oh, we have some kind of mental health issues. There's some kind of mental health disorders. And so when you, as a young man, can sit and provide some psychoeducation on what mental health really is, it is really beneficial. We need more of that within our communities.
I can safely say and agree that it's it's work that always kind of feels like a pat on the back
Mhm.
because you can't see it, right?
Right.
And you can see it at the extreme. When you have the schizophrenia, when you have the bipolar disorder, when you have the hallucinations and the delusions, for sure, you can see it. So then now we're there, we're important. But what about the anxieties? What about the eating disorders? What about the depression, right? Not everything is always physical, and
Right.
sometimes happens in the hidden. So you need that person that's there to kind of like work through those things. Trauma comes in all shapes and forms, but sometimes it's never visible. So
Physical.
how can we bring that invisible visible?
In your world, have you faced any struggles where you yourself can identify that, you know, this individual, especially minors, may have some, you mentioned anxiety or depression, and could use some resources, but their community do not believe in mental health. How do you navigate that?
So I feel like this is a constant conversation
Mhm.
that I always find myself having, especially in Black and Brown communities. And I say Black and Brown because Black and Brown is the broadest sense of discussing it versus breaking it down between African Americans, Caribbeans, etc. So in Black and Brown communities, we as a total don't share how we feel about
Right.
anything, right? We're always taught pick your chin up when you get knocked down, don't share anything to make you look weak, and
Mhm.
all these various different concepts that don't promote speaking. So, because you never speak any of these things, where do they stay? In here. So,
Mhm.
now that they're stuck in here, you have all these thoughts and all these different emotions that never get shared. So now you're just this bottled up energy of not even necessarily just negativity, but like trauma and all these different experiences that you never even really got a chance to process. So now it comes out in different forms, whether it's I'm not healed from something that I experienced with my parents. So now I go and get in a relationship and my partner is getting everything that I got from mom or dad. You know what I mean? It's those little things where now we're not speaking about something as simple as how we didn't feel comfortable about this. And we're excommunicating people out of our lives. We're
Right.
isolating ourselves because we're sad. But instead of sharing with someone, I'm not feeling okay, you're just going to remove yourself and then further put yourself in that deeper hole. So I would totally say that in Black and Brown communities, just the lack thereof of communicating, it's communication through and through. I think creating more spaces um, for fluid conversations with the youth, but also within the adults as well. Like, don't be afraid to, if you feel like you're lost, you know what I mean? Like, talk, call up that friend, whoever that closest friend is, call them up. Don't worry about if they're going to share your business because, like, I feel like at the end of the day, everyone's got issues and everyone has problems. So you just need that
Yes.
right person to kind of resolve it and talk through it.
Is that what Albert Ellis, I think, said? Everyone has some issues, right?
Everyone has some issues.
Yes.
Everyone has some issues.
Have you seen where tattoo help people, make survival or transformation, or even as a personal milestone?
I would say all
Mhm.
three for sure. I think it what's so nice about what I get to do is that everyone's tattoo really does tell a story, right? Even something as simple as like a smiley face, two dots, a little curve, and then the
Mhm.
circle, right? Like having someone come in and say, "Oh, I want this."
Mhm.
I pride myself in asking, "What makes you want this?"
Mhm.
Like what makes you want this tattoo? And even prior to even them coming in that sense, when I get the clients that don't know what they want, but they know they want a tattoo,
Mhm.
some of the questions I ask, I could probably tell you two. Two of the major questions I ask is what season of your life are you in?
Mhm.
And how would you describe that season of life? Because whatever it is that this experience is doing for you, it's building you up for something, whether it's overcoming a challenge, accepting a challenge, becoming whatever that challenge is. Like that's what this tattoo is going to do. And I think that in these multitude of experiences, that's how the tattoos like bring those hits, those various points. I'd even like to say for like myself, like I have quotes, right?
Mhm.
Like I have a quote that a teacher of mine in high school told me, and I have that tattooed on me. I had got that tattooed on me when I was 18. So like it was like a constant, like wherever if I'm in the mirror and I just look and I see it, I'm like, okay, mind over matter. Let's keep
Yeah.
going. You know what I mean? To other pieces of expression where like maybe I could have been experiencing something, right? And I came up with like an acronym to where I have the acronym tattooed. So whenever I see the acronym, it'll always remind me of where I was. So wherever I'm at now in the future, I can look back and be like, yo, at that specific point in time when I did that, Lincoln was here. But now I'm here and it lives with you forever. So I'd say a little bit of all three.
Who might not benefit? Usually we talk about the benefits and who can benefit, but who might not benefit from an empathetic tattoo experience?
I would say this one is tough because I think even necessarily removing empathy from it,
Mhm,
the only people genuinely I believe that wouldn't benefit from a tattoo would be those with addictive personalities,
mhm,
but negative addictive personalities specifically. Like, I think everyone has their own form of addiction and it shows in different ways, right? Like, some people are addicted to food, some people are addicted to the gym, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but I don't think a negative, like, if you've used addiction in a negative coping mechanism
mhm,
and then you try to put tattoos as that filler, it might do more harm than good, right? Because now you're just looking to either get this tattoo to feel something
mhm,
instead of like trying to process how you feel and still feel something,
mhm,
or you're getting this tattoo as, I guess, like a placement or a marker. And then now you're not really like complimenting your body or treating your body like a temple still. You're just literally just trying to fill every gap and every space up without really having a purpose behind it. And then I'm not even saying every tattoo needs to have purpose, but I definitely feel that other portion where your body is a temple, respect your body just as much as you would respect anything else. So I'd say anyone with negative addictive personalities or traits, any of
right.
those, anything across that probably wouldn't benefit from tattooing. But outside of that, there's not too many people. Um, Yeah, I'd say mainly them. That's all I can think of.
What about those who might use tattoo? We touched on that a little bit earlier
Hmm.
to substitute self-harm.
I think now I will say I don't think that there's, and that's why I say it's a fine line. It's a
Mhm,
very fine line between negative addiction and action replacement. Self-harm, obviously your goal is, well, primary goals are to feel something,
mhm,
provide relief, or
mhm,
maybe you do just want to harm yourself. It's
right.
usually across that spectrum.
Mhm,
I believe if you can substitute tattooing, but with purpose, it's different. Like, I think that unless that person knows how to tattoo, that'd be their only way to like fully commit to using tattoos as a way to do it
mhm,
and self harm themselves. But if you're going to a tattoo artist, I feel like your tattoo artist will pick up on what's going on and they'll be able to discuss and rationalize like, are you getting these to feel something? Are you
mhm,
getting these to fulfill a, and I say that based off of a couple of experiences I've had
mhm,
with clients myself where I could see what was happening,
right.
right? And I could totally have that conversation because we had already built enough rapport
Mhm,
to have it and also share, what I'm saying, from that standpoint of being a tattoo artist and being able to recognize at one point myself, like when I was learning how to tattoo, I was using it not necessarily as a form of self-harm, but I would say whenever I felt peak emotions and I felt like I was hitting my roadblocks and I wasn't where I wanted to be or what wasn't reaching my specific milestone, I tattooed myself. Would that be considered self-harm? Who knows? But like I know in the moment I was experiencing that, but then now I'm here to be able to share that story. So then when I share that with them, they rationalize like, yeah, like this probably isn't going to fix everything, right? So
Right.
it does the
Does a
feeling.
shifting, right?
Yeah, it does the feeling,
Uh-huh.
but don't stop at just the feeling. What's the thoughts behind the feeling
Mhm.
and how can we change that into more positive actions? So then that's where I'm promoting and pushing people like, I'm going to do this, but I'm only going to do this if you promise me you're going to go to therapy.
Right.
And it turns into powerful sessions. I'm
Mhm.
talking tearful sessions. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is what my purpose is in this field.
Right. Awesome. What should someone ask themselves before choosing a tattoo as part of their healing journey?
Mm, I guess mainly there's so many questions that come to mind. I
Mhm.
would say if you're going to specifically choose tattooing or getting a tattoo as part of your healing journey, I would probably say um, take take precautionary steps. So what does that mean? Use other outlets, right? Maybe there's other things that you could do as well. You can always paint, you can always draw. There's always access to paper, pencil, colors. Like you can always have that. Write, journal, those two in tandem. You could do either one of those two, right? But if you find yourself craving something more, and you already do a bunch of the other stuff, like you go to the gym, you're outside, you're experiencing nature. If you feel like art specifically in the form of tattooing is what's going to stamp it for you to be a part of your healing journey, then you should definitely ask yourself what represents that.
Right.
And that'll let you know. If you could find anything, if you could describe anything, a verse, a statement, a, a image that can describe that, I'd say do it then. And if you feel that once you do it, it's going to segue into more positivity, more healing, more resilience, emphasis on resilience moving forward, then totally go for it. But if you don't ever get those type of feelings or inclinations, then you might just be doing it just for the sake of getting the tattoo, which there's nothing wrong with that either. But we're going from healing to, again, just getting a tattoo.
Thank you so very much. And just one more question before we go. What piece of advice or what advice would you give to an individual who is trying to pursue their passion?
The biggest piece of advice I could give to someone that is trying to pursue their passion would be self search, right? Really take time to search within yourself what makes you happy. I almost could like laugh thinking to myself that I was once an 8-year old that would look at anime on TV and be like, I can copy that, and would just draw countless like different images, right? And hadn't drawn since maybe fourth or fifth grade
Mhm.
due to playing sports and everything else that life brings. You get to college, you just go to live in life and you forget something as fundamental as that. But the reason why I say self search is because nothing is more grounding than
Mhm.
knowing that there might be something that you enjoy more than anything else. Like it's scary to even say there's something that you enjoy more than life itself, but it's almost as if it's something similar to that. Because if it puts you in a place where you're no longer feeling any emotion other than peace, that's your passion.
That's your
Pursue that.
passion.
That's your passion. I can calmly say I remember the day I got back into drawing and there was no, it was almost as if everything around me was quiet. And I can still do it to this day, no matter where I'm at. If I pick up a pencil and pad, I could have a whole party of people around me and I'm just there doing my thing. So wherever your peace is at, that's where your passion is.
Whatever brings you peace, that's where your passion lies. And any final word of encouragement and a disclosure, as we talked about tattoo and healing, we want to touch on the disclosure that tattoo doesn't necessarily um, replace therapy, as we discussed earlier. So if there is need for therapy, we are not promoting that tattoo
Oh yeah,
replace
no.
therapy.
As a mental health therapist and tattoo artist, I will safely say still go to therapy. Do
Yes.
both. Do both. Or you can come to Tampa, Florida and you get access to both via me. That's another way that it could go. But I definitely believe that you should do both. Do both. Both can be very powerful, both can be very impactful, but even more seriously,
Mhm.
therapy is important. Therapy is very important. It's a resource that we all have access to that we don't even recognize that we do.
Right.
A simple call to your insurance and asking for a list of providers will save you a lifetime of headache.
Absolutely. And if someone saw this video and wanted to reach out to you specifically looking for a tattoo artist like someone yourself, how could they reach you?
You can reach me via Instagram. My at is inked, INKED, by BY, link, LINK. You'll see me in the profile picture. You'll definitely know it's me. I would definitely say there is one of the best places to reach me. And just in order to, if you ever want to chat, talk, whatever, I'm definitely down for any of that. And I have a multitude of other platforms, but I feel like if you go through that one, you'll find me on everything else pretty easily.
Okay, thank you again so much, Mr. Esmie. We appreciate you stopping by with such informative and educational conversation on tattoo and mental health. Until next week, this is Moving Forward Talk with Diana.
Thank you.
Thank you.